Hey guys, Steve here from Bloom Audio. Today, a world filled with meaningless, pointless numbers for product names. Perhaps Questyle's greatest innovation is giving us meaningful numbers for product names. Looking at the Questyle CMA 15, it was named in honor of the 15th anniversary of the invention of current mode technology at Questyle. It's the follow-up to the CMA 12, which was named in honor of, you guessed it, the 12th anniversary of the creation of current mode technology. So outside of giving us meaningful numbers for product names, what does Questyle bring to the table here? Let's take a closer look. So the CMA 15 ships inside of a pretty simple cardboard box, and inside of that box you'll find another box. Inside of the second box you'll find the CMA 15. Didn't feel like it would be the most exciting unboxing, but yeah, so you pull it out and you get the CMA 15, which is, very classic Questyle design. If you've ever seen a CMA 12 or an 800i, this should all look pretty familiar. So starting on the front, you get some toggles. We can go ahead and turn that on. We are, things here, and we have, the remote control IR receiver there. Your ports 4.4 balanced, 6.35 millimeter unbalanced, also known as 1/4 inch, and a 4-pin XLR balanced, and this nice volume knob over here. Nice smooth operation with just a little bit of resistance to it. So flip it around back. We've got your inputs over here. You got 2 USB, either USB-B, USB-C. Under that is your optical digital and your coax SPDIF. And then this is new on the CMA 15. Features an RCA analog input, which according to Questyle, you can use this to operate the CMA 15 as simply a headphone amp, or also use it as a phono stage. So you got some options there. And then we have our analog outputs, which are XLR or RCA. And then we should note here, this switch, studio versus standard, is going to affect the output level from your analog outputs to another device when you're using this as a preamp. And fix or adjust will determine whether the volume knob on the front is still active to use the device as a preamp when you're using the analog outputs. And this over here is your Bluetooth antenna. In terms of the general operation of the device, that shouldn't be too much of a challenge for most users. You've got your source here, so you can select the USB, optical, SPDIF, the analog RCA, or your Bluetooth input. If you want to use the Bluetooth input, once you select it, you'll need to go ahead and reach around back and hold down the pairing button, and that's going to make that blink until you pair it with another device. Go ahead and turn that off for now. Then on function, you have HP amp or DAC as your options. So in DAC mode, that is going to deactivate the headphone outputs on the front and run this solely as a DAC. So if you want to use this as a headphone amp, you're going to need to have that on as well. And then there's the bias control, which has been somewhat of a mystery, but I finally got a clear explanation on what this does. In standard mode, you're going to operate in a way that is focused on providing the best output for the amp itself in terms of heat and other things. So it's going to switch from class A to class AB at a lower level. You switch it to high, that will extend the class A operation to a higher point, which is then going to have some enhancements to the sound quality. But again, you're just going to make the device run a little bit hotter. Questyle's sound is rooted in the studio. But there's a little bit more to it. There's this liquidy smoothness, treble, a bit of punch in the bass, and just a dash of warmth in the mids. At the end, it leaves you with a sound that's accurate and transparent, but it's not dry or clinical. In the bass, you have deep extension, just incredible texture and great presentation of low-end instruments. Just that little bit of extra punch that really helps support the bass performance in more neutral reference tune headphones. In the mids, again, you've got loads of detail and just incredibly well-layered presentation of vocals, guitars, pianos, instruments in general. And that touch of emotion in there that really hits you and prevents them from being too dry, even as they are very accurate, full-bodied mids. Again, in the treble, you get this sort of liquidy smoothness up top that you don't lose the air, you don't lose the definition, but you do lose any sense of fatigue at the very top, especially when you listen to it with a headphone that might be more prone to having some fatiguing characteristics. The CMA 15 really manages to just keep that under control and enhance that experience. So it's just a little bit relaxed, I guess you could say. In terms of the sound stage, it's wide and deep, very three-dimensional. The CMA 15's presentation of the whole image is very strong, just great, realistic feeling, separation and placement of the various musicians, instruments on the stage. It's a very strong 3D image overall. CMA 15 has a ton of versatility as well. In addition to having enough power to really comfortably drive probably 95% of headphones, and even some of that top 5% it'll do really well with. It also has a low gain mode, which is going to mean with sensitive IEMs, you're still going to be able to get that pitch black background, really low noise floor to, basically run the whole spectrum. On the low gain mode, you've got your IEMs with no hiss, and at the top end, you've got even some really hard to drive headphones that are getting just plenty of power there. One impressive thing about CMA 15 is how well Questyle was able to maintain their sort of classic sound with the ESS DACs instead of the AKM. As you may know, there's a major shortage of AKM DACs and leaving a lot of manufacturers trying to find different solutions for their DACs. And ESS is known as a little bit more of a neutral sound, maybe a little bit more energetic, and sometimes can tend towards more clinical sounding devices. What Questyle did here, though, is really bend that and tune that to match their sort of their house sound, where you do get this somewhat relaxed but still accurate and smooth presentation of the CMA 15. So it's just really impressive how Questyle was able to work within the ESS architecture to still maintain that classic Questyle sound. In our written review, I compared the Questyle CMA 15 to the Chord Hugo TT2 and the i5 Pro IDSD Signature, both of which are a little more expensive than the CMA 15. So as I was working on the video aspect of this, we got our dealer edition demo of the Conductor 3 reference in. And considering these have a little bit more price parity and the fact that it's just a really cool looking unit, the dealer demo edition has this plexiglass top so you can see all the components inside. I thought these actually made a great comparison as well. In terms of the design, there's definitely some differences in the design philosophy between Questyle's simple, elegant design and Burson's more rugged look. Burson gives you a few more options filters and the like via the OLED screen, as opposed to Questyle, which kind of has lights and switches on the front to control everything. On the back, Conductor has a whole bunch of XLRs for input and output, and they provide adapters if you need them. You can turn the XLR into an RCA. In the end, they largely have the same connectivity, but Burson has the slight edge in power, which is going to let you drive some of those top 5% harder to drive conventional headphones that CMA 15 is going to struggle against. But then on the flip side, the Burson really does not play well with IEMs. So the CMA 15 is going to manage your IEMs and highly sensitive headphones a bit better. Questyle and Burson both kind of have a house sound that's just a couple steps away from each other. If you're starting at a pure, completely neutral reference signature, I would say Burson is kind of a step more bright and energetic, while Questyle is just a step more warm and relaxed. Both are still definitely inside of that neutral reference bubble. They're just kind of on the two different ends of it. A really good example of this was listening with the Audeze LCD-X. With the CMA 15, really felt like the LCD-XC, sorry, I was listening with the LCD-XC, was just a little bit smoother on the top. It kept some of the things where like a trumpet stab or maybe kind of like a crescendo on a female vocal would just be a little bit sharp, hit my ears a little bit harsh. The CMA 15 had just enough smoothness on that to keep that from getting to that painful point. Whereas with the Conductor 3X reference, I definitely got a little more sharpness on those sorts of notes or trumpet stabs or other things. But at the same time, I felt there was a stronger definition. Those elements stood out a little bit more. So there was some give and take there. It was similar in the bass, where Conductor 3X reference definitely going to give you some really solid slam. The CMA 15, the bass felt a little more effortless. I never felt like the bass was boosted, but it just felt like you got it more easily and more quickly with the punch in the bass than you did with the Conductor 3X reference. The Elite, Meze Elite, told a similar story again, where with the Conductor, you really got this enhancement to the top end definition. The resolution and the air there were stronger definitely with the Conductor. But again, it could get just a touch too bright at the top, for my taste at least. Whereas the CMA 15 smoothed things out a little bit. And again, gave you that kind of liquid feeling in the treble that was sort of just right. Now, if you want to flip the script with the Meze Lyric, I felt like that with the CMA 15 ended up being a little bit soft. Like it just didn't have, it had the bass was good, the rest of the signature was there, but it just didn't really feel engaging. Where with the Meze Lyric, the Conductor really added an engagement factor. It added some energy. It brought some of that space out a little bit more and brought the top end alive more. The difference between the two is really going to come down a lot to your headphone collection and your listening preferences. Do you want that smoother top and just slightly more relaxed CMA 15? Or do you want that in-your-face energy of the Conductor 3X reference? Let us know in the comments. CMA 15 is a fantastic DAC amp combo. And if I could come up with 2 words to describe it, I would say versatile and elegant. There's some degree of a, if it ain't broke, don't fix it simplicity to CMA 15's designs when you look at it next to the previous models. But in every way, it's also an improvement, whether it's the improved Bluetooth, the better performance overall, the higher output. it's taking what was great about the CMA 12 and adding on to that with every generation. So, I can't wait to come back in 3 years and talk to you guys about the CMA 18. But until then, the CMA 15 definitely makes great company. Thanks for watching. You can check out the CMA 15, a lot of other great products at bloomaudio.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll be back soon with more hi-fi personal audio content.